Okay, Advanced Algebra 2. This should be Wednesday the 6th. Welcome to Mr. Patterson's class if you're here watching this. Yesterday we started looking at something called an arithmetic sequence, and that was when our pattern was we added the same number over and over again, or we subtracted the same number over and over again. Okay, now remember we kind of talked our way through this. Here's our general formula for an arithmetic sequence, and remember this a sub 1, that's the number you start with. Your d value is what you're either adding or subtracting each time, and this n minus 1 is how many times that you add and subtract, and it's always one less than what your position is. Okay, that's the key there. It's always one less. If you're in the 8th position, or if you're looking for the 8th number in your sequence, you will have added or subtracted 6 times, or 7 times, 8 minus 1. Well, today we're going to look at using that formula to write something called the nth term rule. So if we want to know, say, the 40th number in line, we'll be able to use this 40 to figure out what this number is. Okay, that's the goal today. We want to just simply use which position we're in to figure out what the number we'll see there will be. All right. So let's take a look here, and you'll see me. We'll do some examples here, and you'll figure this out. Okay. So number 1 down here, it says write the nth term rule for the following arithmetic sequence. And what do we see here? Or an nth term rule. Now, when you see a sequence, remember that first number is important to know. That's your a sub 1. And then it's also important to know what you do to go from one number to the next. So we know that our first term is 62. Now, that's our a sub 1. That means eventually that's where the 62 will go, a sub 1. We also know how do we go from 62 to 55? Well, how do we go from 55 to 48, 48 to 47? Number 1, before we figure that out, realize it's getting smaller, so that means we're subtracting. So our d is negative. It's negative 7. And that will, of course, go right here when it's for the d. So if we take our 62, our first term that we know, we plug it in, and we plug in our d value, which we know is negative 7, there's what we get. Now if we just clean this up, so in other words, this is a set of parentheses here, and you're multiplying behind it by negative 7, well, we can distribute that negative 7, and we get something like that. And we just combine some like terms on that right-hand side, and we get a sub n, which, what's that mean? That's the nth term. That's why this is called the nth term rule. So any number we want in line, we just got to simply know what position we're in, and here's how we would find it. Negative 7 times n equals 69. This is our nth term rule. So now let's say we wanted to know what the 36th number in line. We could come up here and keep subtracting 7 and keep track of what number we're on, but we'd have to go a long ways out there to get to the 36th number. So it's easier if we just come over here, and this rule, all we have to do is plug our 36 in right here. We don't subtract 1 from it. That doesn't say n minus 1 right there. It just says n. So if we want the 36th number, we just plug in a 36. Okay, and it looks like that. Then we just got to do the math, and we find out the 36th number is a negative 183. And remember, since we're subtracting 7, these numbers are getting smaller, so eventually out here we'll get into negative numbers, and it looks like by the time we get to the 36th number, we are well into negative numbers. We're all the way down at negative 183. Okay, so this is our nth term rule. So notice the only 2 things we needed to know to figure out our nth term rule is our first number in line, so we can plug it in right there, and what our d value is, what we were doing. We were subtracting 7 on this one. We plug it in right there, and then we just got to clean it up like an old-time math problem. And then we can use this formula to our advantage. If we wanted to know the 36th term, we plug a 36 in. If we want to know the 50th term, we plug in a 50, and then we just do the math. Okay, that's the nth term rule. Now yesterday we also talked about, in this second example here, says, so we want to find the nth term rule for the sequence that has the 51st number of 97 and a common difference of 4. Now we talked yesterday about a piece of information like this and how it's 2 things in one. The 97 is a number that you will see in your list. Where will you see it at the 51st number in the list. So you count out 50 numbers, the next one, the 51st one, will be 97. So where does this 51 go? Here, 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 here. Where does that go? What is that? Where does this 97 go? This one's kind of self-explanatory. Common difference of 4. So see if you can fill them in right here quick before I show you what it looks like. Press pause if you want to, but fill in and see what the equation you would be. All right, so hopefully you realize that 51 is your n, that's your position. The 97 is actually a number, that's a sub n, it goes over there. Of course, our common differences are d. We plug all that in, it looks like that. That should be the equation you had. Now you just got to do the math. Okay, of course, 51 minus 1 is 50. Multiply those two together, we'll get 200. And subtract our 200 over, and we get a negative 103. So our first number in line is negative 103. Okay, and our common difference is 4. Now remember on the last problem, those are the two things we need to know. Our first number in line and our common difference, 4. Whoops. Hold on here. Let me go back. Okay, so hold on a second. A little technical difficulty there. So what would our nth term rule be? Well, it's our first number plus n minus 1 times d. We know our first number. It's negative 103. We know our d value. It's 4. So now we just do the math. Have to distribute back here, and we'll get 4n minus 4. So any number in our list, that's what this is doing. This is what this is telling us. Any number on our list, what could we do to find it? Well, we could take 4n minus 107. That is our nth term rule. Okay, let's check it. They told us the 51st number is 97. So if we plug, see if I can squeeze this in here. If we plug a 51 in here, we should get an answer of 97. So let's check that. 4 times 51, what is that, 204? 4 times 51, it's 204. Minus 107. And we get an answer of 97. If you can see it, that says 97. So it checks out with what they gave us. This is our nth term rule. Okay, so we have 2 examples here, and you have 2 homework problems to do. They follow along with the examples, so you can use the examples in the video here for help. But here are your 2 homework problems. There they are there. You can either copy them out of here or print them off the handout. Post your picture as always. And tomorrow's Thursday. That'll be the last day this week. Get everything turned in and do your thing. Do what you do, okay? So we'll see you tomorrow.